Hello and welcome to the United Community Podcast. We're back with your latest episode, Game Week 4, and we've got plenty to talk about tonight. Of course we do. Of course, the big game last weekend was Manchester United and Arsenal. United desperately disappointing result for him, but was it an improved performance? We're going to talk about VAR. We're going to talk about United finishing the game with Maguire and Evans at centre back, and we're also going to talk about the fallout of Jadon Sancho. Of course, we heard Eric Ten Hag's comments, and then of course Jadon Sancho had a response on social media, so we'll get into that as well. We're going to talk Liverpool also. Good win against Villa. Are they back to their best? How important is Anfield to Liverpool? And we're going to talk Villa as well, and are they going to struggle, and maybe will they prioritise European football this season? Chelsea struggling. What's the realistic goal for them this year, and is Pochettino the right man for the job? Newcastle are also struggling. Brighton, however, are flying, but Brighton did give them a bit of a lesson on the weekend. We're going to talk about that game, and we're also going to talk about Evan Ferguson and his hat-trick. How much is he worth at the moment? Of course, then we'll talk about Manchester City as well. Is there a real fear that it will walk away with the league this season again? And we're going to talk a little bit about the Ballon d'Or. We've got some of the candidates announced. Should Erling Haaland get or win the Ballon d'Or? But we'll get all into it. Ricey is back with us again. Good to see you. How are you getting on, pal?
Well, Jackie, how are you?
Good. All right, we'll jump straight into it. Manchester United versus Arsenal, the big one last weekend. Look, obviously, from a Manchester United standpoint, it was desperately disappointing, the result. But I thought the performance was improved over maybe some of the performances we've seen so far this season. What did you make of it yourself in terms of, a spectacle, a game? Anything stand out for you in particular?
Yeah, I watched the match. I thought it was actually a very entertaining match. I thought United done well. I thought they done very well in patches. Rashford took his goal very well. Kind of a match that had everything really, bar sendings off. It had it had VAR controversy, as we very rarely get through one of the big games these days without having a bit of controversy with VAR. But look, we'll get into the VAR in a while. Overall, with United, such fine margins, wasn't it? Celebrating a late winner and going from that to ending up losing by 2 goals with the addition of these new minutes that they bring on. What they conceded 96th and 101st, was it 90 plus 11? I think.
Yeah, something like that.
90 plus 11, I think the other goal went in at. So it's just the ecstasy of football, really, isn't it? I was in a pub, and at the time I wasn't aware of it going up to the pub, but there happened to be the Manchester United fan club or society.
Oh, you were in Christie's for it?
Yeah. We're watching it up there, so you can imagine there was a couple of Arsenal jerseys around. I was with a couple of United fans. I was with an Arsenal fan watching it. They were kind of going for and back and forth, so you can imagine when United scored that goal, it kind of lifted the lid off Christie's, and then I think everybody that wasn't supporting United when the goal was ruled out nearly jumped up and hit the roof as well.
Yeah,
because when you kind of see a group in there like that, you're nearly just going against them just for the sake of having a bit of banter,
especially when you're in neutral.
But look, overall, I don't know where to start with United. They're in a tough place at the minute. They had a better start than last season, as in they didn't get off the 2 losses, but I think they're really in the same place as last season, aren't they? Would you say they're better off than last season? I know they kind of made a couple of signs there with the goalie and that, but with these stories coming out now, we'll delve deeper into them later on. But with Sancho there and with these things happening now,
and
Anthony there,
look, I think we are. I mean, there's pros and cons to both sides, I think you would have to say, but I think we probably are in a better place than we were maybe this time last year. There was a lot of unknowns last year, obviously, with Ten Hag coming in first season. We didn't really know what to expect. We did know, obviously, he was a good manager, but we didn't know maybe how players were going to react. There was a whole, we have to think back on the whole Cristiano Ronaldo situation that was going on last season as well. But, I mean, there's pros and cons that you could take.
But I do also think last season there was, as much as there was hope, this season comes with expectation.
Yeah.
Like last year, he has them games where if he doesn't do great, he's only new. He's not only new anymore. He's been able to put a bit of a stamp on his squad, albeit he didn't probably get to sign everybody he wanted, or he didn't get rid of everybody he wanted.
Well, let me ask you this then, obviously, because you're a neutral. What's a kind of an expected timeline for pressure to come on Eric Ten Hag? You know what I mean? Do you think he should be under more pressure now than he is? Or
No. I don't think so. I think managers these days have to be given a decent amount of time. Like I do think, I think he'd be, if United didn't make Champions League again this season, but then you're going a good few seasons without even challenging for a league. You know, if like this season really was a season where you would have liked to be challenging.
Yeah.
Like that's not done and dusted, but it looks like a big mountain to climb.
It
yeah,
is.
and that's only 4 games into the season. It's not saying it's dead and buried. It's just like there's so much clouds over United. Even this thing with the owners coming down and saying the club isn't for sale. I seen yesterday, the club share price dropped or something by 18%. That's worth over $500 million because the Glazers said that they're taking the club down from sale. And this supposedly came with, they were getting information that they think by 2025 that the club could be worth between 7 to 10 billion.
Yeah.
And I was listening to a different podcast earlier on my way home from work, and Newcastle, I think, sold for 300 million. That would value Manchester United at 30 times the value of Newcastle. I know they're on a lot different levels, but like 30 times the value of another Premier League club that was made Champions League last year too.
Yeah.
I don't really know where they're getting their notions. I would say Manchester United is the most valuable club in England. I have no doubt about that. That's a lot of that is going on history and
fan
support
base.
and fan base and trophies you've won over the years, and like a rapport that you built up over years.
Yeah.
I
think the club,
I just think
I can't see a scenario where the Glazers stay, you know, and I think there's two parts to this. First and foremost, it's because they're not willing to invest their own money into Manchester United. The stadium needs redevelopment and the training ground needs redevelopment, and the Glazers are not willing to put the money or their hands into their own pockets.
It's just a shame. Sorry, carry on.
Yeah, but the other option is for minority investment to come in. You know, so someone to come in and buy a minority stake in Manchester United, leave the Glazers as the main owners, and they would invest their money in as part of it.
Yeah, I know, but that's still, you're just fully giving into the Glazers there.
Yeah, and I think the reason why that won't happen is because exactly what you mentioned yesterday with the stock price going so low when there's talks of the Glazers staying. What business owner in their right mind would come along and get into bed with the Glazers when they're seeing things like that happen? So I think they will have to sell.
Is it true that podcast I listened to, have the Glazers, how much have they only invested 250 million of their own money?
200 million. They put 200 million euro worth of their own money towards buying the club in 2005.
Oh yeah, sorry.
That's the only money they've invested.
It's crazy. 2005, they're nearly there 20 years. Like,
yeah. So basically what happened was they put up 200 million themselves. They borrowed 500 million from banks. When they bought Manchester United, they loaded that 500 million debt onto the club, which has been gaining interest ever since. All of that has occurred to over $1 billion in repayments since they bought it. We're still in debt, and they've been taking dividends out every year since as well.
Yeah,
it's
just madness. But you look at United then, and you see kind of where they are now, and you're wondering how things have gone so wrong. I know you've won some of your trophies over the years, not the ones you wanted. Well, look, you'll take any trophy, but you didn't win the big ones. But I just see there's only 3 clubs in the world since 2014 that have spent over $1 billion, not spent over $1 billion, have net spend of $1 billion, which is Manchester United have spent the most money of any club in the world since 2014 with 1.4 billion. Chelsea are next to 1.3 net. And then you have PSG with 1 billion.
Now, net is very important in that.
Yeah.
The reason being is, and I think Chelsea are more, I suppose, culpable than Manchester United in this, because we've seen what they've spent. But the difference between Manchester United and Chelsea is that they're good at selling players for
I
money
know,
as
but
well.
that, like, I
United
know,
aren't.
and that's a big part of it. You're not only spending money, but that's how you run a club. You
I
buy
know, yeah.
and sell
But that's
players.
how poor the
It's not
club has
just
been run.
saying, oh well, they spent more than us. Yeah, well, they're entitled to spend more if they can sell more. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
it's running a club better. And I know
Yeah.
Chelsea's not the best club to compare you to. Either is PSG. Hence why
Yeah.
you're probably the only 3 clubs in the world that are over that billion mark net spend.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's just, look, we won't get into it too much over that. It's just kind of seeing where United are. Just going back to the match while we're discussing it, before we kind of get in all the ins and outs of it. As a fan, what is your kind of lowdown on the game? Like, where do you think the game could have been won before it got that late in the game?
I think, like I said it during the week, that I thought if Garnacho had been 2 inches further back when that ball had been passed, we would be talking about a very, very impressive game plan out of Eric Ten Hag.
Yeah,
You know,
I seen your
going to
TikTok
the
there,
Emirates, soaking up the pressure from Arsenal, being very comfortable on the ball at the back, and then picking your chance, or taking your chances when they arrive.
I think regarding that chance in itself, I think credit has to be given to, I think it was Gabriel, was it? How he literally just stopped in time and kind of almost froze himself to call that line.
Yeah, he stepped out and kind of
stepped out and almost put himself as straight up as he could.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't have a toe out, he didn't have his nose out. If it was me, I would have been goosed.
That big yoke would have been popped miles offside.
The schnoz would have been keeping him on side.
I presume you do think it was offside anyway. There's no debates there, because
well, look, what I'm after, I read into all this, and I was just like going into them rabbit holes on Twitter and all, and I came across a thing that says, like, you could say the wrong angle used and all this, but there's a thing that VAR have up, an official comment, and it says technology exists to compensate for the cameras not being directly in line with the players.
Yeah.
So it's like they knew this will be a problem when they come out, because the camera isn't always going to be bang in line. So they obviously have some kind of equations or something to come out with. I don't think that side of VAR is wrong, because I don't think so. I think that's kind of black or white, and they can do equations or whatever, Pythagoras' theorem, whatever you like, and they can go down and show that is. So I think if VAR is saying that, yeah, I do think he was offside.
Yeah, they've got 5 cameras on each end of the pitch, and they take an average. It's basically, it's not an average reading, but they take all 5 and kind of amalgamate them into it. They can't get it wrong, basically. You know what I mean? Let's talk about the VAR decision on the other end, the penalty. Any, opinions on that? Do you think it was the right call that was eventually made?
Havertz.
Yeah.
I do. Like, first off, like, when you're watching that in real time, like, that's why when people claim to get rid of VAR and things like this, like, how aggrieved would you feel if that was you? And I know it wasn't the 90th minute. Say that's the 90th minute of a match, and Havertz goes through and rides a tackle like that. And then you have all these cameras looking back on it after, and you're looking at Match of the Day and all that night, and you're like, it was never a foul.
Yeah.
That is the benefit of VAR. I know VAR slows things up and all, but now that VAR is in, VAR is here to stay. You couldn't get rid of it. Getting rid of it now would bring way more controversies.
Well, let me ask you a question on it then. Would you get rid of it for goals? Because there's been a lot of talk about the kind of experience of celebrating goals has been diminished ever since VAR.
It has been diminished, but I don't see how you would get rid of it for goals. Like,
there's too many important decisions. That is the most important.
But like, that's the most important part of VAR is a goal.
Yeah.
So you're just going to be like, oh, we'll just keep it for fouls or cards or
offsides.
Yeah, you can't just pick and choose. You're going to use it. If you're going to implement it, you're going to do it properly like they are now. And it will only get better. I think in 10 years' time, if VAR is still around, I think there will still be controversies with it, because there's never going to be 100% on anything. But I do think, even when VAR angles were shown Havertz's, I was thinking he got clipped, a tiniest clip.
Yeah.
But maybe he did get brushed a bit.
Well, I think the one saving grace was Wan-Bissaka went in with the initial foot across him and didn't touch him.
No,
And then,
yeah.
And then he pulled his foot back and straightened himself. Very similar to Gabriel with the offside. Straightened himself. And it was Havertz's foot then that came in contact with
and like
with the knee of Wan-Bissaka.
Some kind of, I wouldn't say, like, I wouldn't turn around and be like, Havertz is an absolute diver. You know, like, you're kind of going through that.
He's an absolute bum. He's
yeah. He absolute dirt.
Double dirt.
But he's coming into a position like that where you're expecting contact and going to ride the tackle. He hasn't thrown himself just, I don't think, but I do think the correct decision. Look, it'll sound stupid whatever way I tackle that saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
talk to me about Arsenal a bit then, because obviously last season they were the main contenders to Man City. Do they have the same kind of, I mean, they started last season a million miles an hour, in fairness, didn't they? And obviously they dropped off towards the end, but I don't know, to me, and obviously I was calling it all last season that I didn't think they'd last the pace, but it doesn't seem to be the same level of intensity or the same level of quality that they've got this season, or is that just me?
Yeah, they may have started at a slower pace, but no, I think Arsenal will be happy with their start to the season. Still unbeaten, 3 wins and a draw. They'll take that. They're still knocking up around the top half. Like, each of these international breaks is almost like a milestone. Just get to this international break, reset, go again. I think there's only 4 Premier League games between now and the next one. So if Arsenal could aim to get, between now and there's another international break in October. And there's, although United have 7 games in 21 days. United have Brighton at home, Bayern away, Burnley at home, Palace at home. One of them is in the FL Cup, Galatasaray at home. Then they have Brentford. So they don't have that tough a Premier League run, but they have a lot of games.
Yeah, like, Brighton is going to be very difficult return.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just going other than that, though. You're saying Palace, Brentford. I know Brentford are a decent team, but if you're Man United, you should be wanting to beat them. And especially after the start you had, because the last thing you want to be doing is coming in with a loss, 2 draws, and a win out of that. And you're suddenly coming into the next international break and you're in 7th or 8th position. And then things are like, geez, is Ten Hag the man? Because he has enough pressure on his shoulders without fans questioning him like that. And I don't believe fans will question him about that this early. But I do think if things aren't going right this season, and if United don't have a good season, I definitely think there'll be shouts for Ten Hag out.
Well, let me ask about Arsenal then while we're talking about that as well. If Arteta goes another season without a trophy, is the pressure going to come on him equally?
Well, I don't think so, because I think that he's been true. Now, I'm not saying that Ten Hag should be gone with a bad season. I'm saying there will be calls from that, like as in any club.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like up in Scotland, Rangers are 3 games into a season and some of the fan base are calling for the manager out. I'm not saying that will be the right decision or that every fan. So, Chris, don't hop on that there now saying, oh, no, we have to give him time. I'm saying, Jack, part of the fan base will, like any fan base.
Yeah.
But we were, sorry, what did you say just before that?
Arteta.
I think Arteta has been at Arsenal a good while now, and Arteta went through a shit year or 2 where they were calling for his head. And the club stuck with him and they bought into his philosophy. And then I think last season has really given Arsenal hope. Arsenal have endless amount of FA Cups. Even when Wenger was just winning FA Cups towards the end, they were saying Wenger out. You know, and so it's not as if an FA Cup is going to. Arsenal want the league, or Arsenal want to be knocking around the door of Champions Leagues. I'm not saying they're maybe ready to be knocking around the door of Champions League, but that's what they want. Them European nights, Premier League run-ins. I'm not saying they're turning up their nose at an FA Cup, but I think, barring a horrendous season, I'd say Arteta is very safe. He's a good young manager.
Yeah, okay.
And I'm not saying Ten Hag is not. I'm just saying that United is a very, very tough position where you don't get given a whole lot of time if you're not producing the goods. He's come in, he seems to steady the ship a bit, but then they throw more shit at him. Like, he has I just have a screenshot here on my phone. Sorry, I came across it on Twitter. See if I can get it. This is just kind of what he's dealing with. This is his journey over 40 league games that he's played, that he's been involved in so far. Working for the Glazers, obviously one thing. Whole Ronaldo scenario.
Yeah.
He goes, no players signed last January when he wanted to sign players. Greenwood fiasco. Unwanted players retained. So he has players now that he doesn't even want, but the club
Harry
cannot get
Maguire.
rid of. Sancho situation now, and now he has Anthony. Just when things might start to look good, and I'm not even saying they were starting to look good now. Like all this shit comes out.
It's distractions.
Oh, massive! It's an absolute circus. And I don't know how, because like the potential in that club, just
could you imagine I suppose the what the club would be worth if we were winning Premier Leagues and we were challenging with the likes of Man City and Liverpool and these types of teams. It would be unbelievable. But I want to talk about the centre-back partnership that was finished at the end of the game against Arsenal the other night, Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans. Now, look, I like Johnny Evans, but I thought Johnny Evans was coming back to Manchester United to play in the under-21s and just kind of be an example in the dressing room and this kind of thing. And all of a sudden,
play an EFL Cup game or play the 5th or 6th game of the Champions League if you're already through. I
did not expect him to be putting on a jersey away at the Emirates.
No, but like Lindelof, and like it's another thing you have to consider. Like Martinez gets injured a fair bit.
Well, this was a recurring niggle from his last injury. Yeah, and it is, he has trained with the international team, so he's actually not injured.
No, I know. I seen that because I seen he was getting stick on Twitter from United fans saying, how's he playing today with the international team? But he couldn't see out the game the other day. And then other people are like, it's precaution. You'd be given out if he did stay on and got injured. Exactly. I know it is precaution, but like he does appear to have a good few niggles.
But how worrying, Ricey, is it when your backup still is Maguire and now Johnny Evans, you know? And I think it just goes to show the lack of I won't say the lack of investment, but the lack of proper investment within.
Yeah, I think it sums it up. It's not proper. Like
Eric Ten Hag wanted another centre back in the summer, and he didn't get one.
I like getting Reguilon, or is that how you pronounce it? Reguilon, from like a washed up Spurs player, and yeah, he might be delighted, Chris. You might take him to win that Carling Cup this year that Spurs can't win because they got knocked out to Fulham. But
the one thing about Reguilon is that I would say is that it's a short-term contract and it can be cancelled in January.
I know that, and look, it was a bit of a desperation, and United probably tell you it was a bit of desperation. Like they didn't plan on their fullback getting injured, and they weren't planning on like strengthening that area. Malacia, what's the story with him? Is he
looks to be out for another few weeks at minimum anyway. But Luke Shaw could potentially be 2 to 3 months out.
Yeah, I know that, but I'm just wondering, like, backup wise. But look, it's not ideal. Like, Reguilon hasn't even got any preseason with you. He's only getting integrated to the squad now.
Well, the one thing I would say is that probably our best player on the weekend was a right back playing left back. I thought Delors was probably our best player.
Yeah, I thought Delors was very good. But it's just your squad is paper thin there for like any bit of quality at all. Now potentially 2 of your wingers are gone. Will we move on to that Sancho?
Yeah.
Like from a neutral, I was I'm in a group chat there with a few of my buddies that we played golf, and I sent it in something saying, what's this? A screenshot of what Sancho put up. I think I sent it to you at the same time. You gave me a lowdown on it because I didn't have a clue. Sancho only had it up a couple of minutes. And my mates in the group that are United fans didn't even know what I was about. Like, very, very unprofessional. Like, I did see what way Ten Hag came out and kind of made him a scapegoat. But the only other thing to defend Ten Hag also is he was asked a direct question about said player, like about Sancho. Why wasn't Sancho in the squad? And he gave an answer as to why he wasn't.
Yeah, Sancho's so for for anybody listening who doesn't know, obviously Ten Hag came out and said that Sancho wasn't picked because of his performances in training. Sancho, within an hour, I think, came out and says, please don't believe everything you read. I will not allow people to say things that is completely untrue. I've conducted myself in training very well this week. I believe there are other reasons for this matter that I won't get into. I've been a scapegoat for a long time, which isn't fair. All I want to do is play football with a smile on my face and contribute to my team. I respect all decisions that are made by the coaching staff. I play with fantastic players and grateful to do so, which I know every week is a challenge. I will continue to fight for a badge no matter what. I think it's a lot of Ned, to be honest with you.
Well, it's nearly like he doesn't have it on any. It's not on any headed paper. It's not on any kind of. He didn't get any media guy to write it out. He went onto his notes on his iPhone, typed that out, screenshot it, put it up. So he did that in anger, which you'd like to think now he looks back and regrets. You'd like to think
he doesn't, like and I tell you exactly why he doesn't.
He's an absolute arsehole if he's standing by that going, oh yeah, that was a good idea to put that out.
I tell you exactly why, Ricey. Is today, and I seen it on Twitter today, he pinned the tweet to the top of his page.
Oh yeah, well then look, this comes back to things now. This is more for Ten Hag to deal with. Like Ten Hag is probably focusing on whatever players aren't on international camp. He'd be hoping to use these 2 weeks. The lads might get a few days off, and then to get these lads up to match speed, hoping that no players come back with injury from international, and focus on Brighton in 2 weeks' time. Now he has all these distractions. He has these distractions coming up, like such unwanted, unnecessary. I don't see what Sancho's trying to gain from this. There's obviously going to be a bit of a divide in the dressing room now, because there's going to be senior players or some players that are like to Sancho, what the F are you doing? And there's going to be some other players that are going to be like, like any dressing room. It was junior football, you have the same dressing room. Other players going, geez, I didn't think you were bad in training last week.
Yeah.
Like,
don't leave now. Don't leave.
Stay, Sancho thinks himself, or he's making out himself, that there's an agenda against him.
Well, the fact that he said he was been made a scapegoat, I think is nonsense, because he's probably been the most looked after player under Ten Hag. Ten Hag gave him 3 months off last year and tried everything in his best to turn around his career, his performances. Ten Hag didn't spend 70 million on him. Ten Hag didn't offer him 300 grand a week, and yet he tried everything to keep him and improve his performances.
Yeah, I was reading things earlier on, like with City. Do you know, City never came in for Sancho to sign him back when he was coming back from Dortmund.
Yeah.
But now that's City did try and keep Sancho when he was leaving for Dortmund.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So but it's saying one thing if he's scoring, like did he have a season where he had like 15 or 16 goals and 19 or 20 assists in one season?
For Dortmund, he had one of the seasons he averaged a goal or an assist a game.
Yeah. So that's.
But there has been issues with Man City, Dortmund, and United. There has been issues of him, being late for training, not putting in effort. All three clubs have had.
But City weren't sniffing around him when he was coming back. That
for good reason.
But now that kind of maybe makes things a bit clear. Maybe they weren't looking for someone in his position, but he was shit hot at the time. He came to United almost expecting this lad doesn't even need time to blood in. Yeah, he'll need to gel into the squad, but this lad's going to hit the ground running. He's never kind of remotely showed that, and it's up to Ten Hag now. I think it'd show big weakness if he was back in that squad. It's a shame to say, really, because he cost so much money. You look at Pep when Cancelo spoke out against him and they had a tiff. Cancelo was probably at the time the best fullback in the league. He shipped him off to Bayern Munich.
Yeah.
City went on and won a treble. Then Bayern Munich didn't pick up the option to buy him. So it could say something about his attitude too.
Exactly.
But Pep had no problem. Look, you're done and dusted. They got in that argument. He's like, we'll deal with what we have here. Albeit that they have massive backup there.
Yeah, but again, it's a difference in standards as well. You look at Man City and they're doing things the right way. Pep takes no nonsense. They're not paying players astronomical amounts of money because of their name, so it's easy to move them on. United will probably struggle really hard to get Jadon Sancho off the books because he's not going to get 300 plus grand anywhere else, maybe bar Saudi Arabia.
Just highlight that comment there for a minute at the end, Irish Lad 81.
Yeah.
I think this is a massive thing in football now. Like these young millionaire children footballers just don't have the bottle anymore. Just picking up their paycheck, no drive. Like you couldn't really say that better yourself. When lads are coming in, Sancho, what would he be? 23, Jack?
20. Yeah, I think so. 23, I think.
Like 23 since he's joined Manchester United. He's there now 2 years. Is it?
This will be his third season. So he came in the season where
350,000 a week. Like when you think about it, like that's over 30 million.
Yeah.
That he's earned in wages.
But right, see, he came in the transfer window, him, Varane, and Ronaldo. He was part of that trio that we thought were going to take us after Solskjaer finished second in the league. He thought, right, these three are going to be the ones that take us to the league title. You know what I mean? And look, obviously, Varane is injury prone, still a great player in my eyes. You know, Ronaldo done brilliantly in the first season, and Sancho never kicked the ball. You know,
I know it's a shame because he's a lad that when he did come in, I would have liked to see him. I would have liked to see him doing well.
Yeah, of course. I don't think there's any way back for him, though. I can't see the manager backing down here. The only real way I would say there is any way back from him is if this Anthony situation, you know, picks up some pace. We need some cover.
No, but that'd be I still, even if he needed him, I wouldn't.
So would you go
unless there was some sort of like public apology that was like very genuine and he knows he messed up, but you still shouldn't be seeing him in that squad for the next 6 weeks anyway.
Yeah, so you go to the likes of a Palestri.
I think fans would boo him anyway.
Yeah.
I think fans, you've 80,000 odd fans in
Old Trafford.
Like he's going to get booed. Like the team doesn't need that. You're all agreeing that you're backing Ten Hag. I'm not saying only on this situation, but in general, you're happy enough. Look, he makes some decisions that we can call silly, but we're not UEFA Pro license holders when it comes to substitutions and that. But also, as in you seen the other day, that would have been an inspired substitution had he been 2 inches back from where he was.
Yeah.
I'm not questioning them substitutions, but over time we've spoke before. There has been some substitutions that have we've brought into question.
Yeah.
But you're all in agreement that you're backing Ten Hag overall. So
absolutely.
You can't expect him to bring back in.
Yeah. He has to be strong and
he has to be strong.
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't have player power. You've had enough of that over the years. The only thing is you don't know who in the dressing room is pals with him. I'd imagine another sulk. I'd imagine Martial now be palling out there with
he can
palling out with Sancho.
He can jog on as well.
Martial, this is where you're at. This is why I asked you, are you actually in a better position than last year? Martial playing centre forward against Arsenal the other day, it looked like he had absolutely no more interest.
Well, while talking about centre forwards, talk to me about Rasmus Højlund for a minute before we move on from United. From what I saw of him, I was very impressed.
Yeah, look, we won't get ahead of ourselves.
Of course, we're not. Yeah, it was 30 minutes.
He did give it. I think he did give a solid debut. He put himself about, and as I say every week, if all you do when you go onto the pitch, especially when you're getting paid this kind of money, I'd expected at junior football level in Kilkenny is just give 110%, and no one can fault you. Then look, they can maybe criticise that you may not be good enough and things like that, but if you can't fault a lad for effort over the years. Look at the likes of James McLean and all, who's made 100 Irish caps out of, scored some big goals and all, but people say he put in a shift. After every match, he put in a shift. Geez, McLean didn't do too good. Oh, he put in a shift. If you go out there and put in a shift, and Højlund came on the other day and thrown himself about.
Yeah. Ji-sung Park.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But that's what I mean. Good, honest effort. And that's not just to say that Højlund is just that kind of player. But just have that attitude. He came on. He wanted to work hard. He looked focused to me. I seen an interview last week where Haaland came out, and Haaland said he rated him highly, that he had watched him previous years. Sure, they're kind of from that Nordics region, both of them. So at least he sorted out his haircut anyway. Got a bit of a mank haircut. You know, he looked like a Tom or something.
Brilliant. But look, I mean, he's going to need to score goals. Of course he is. He's going to be based on goals, because I think we've lacked the centre forward now for so long that. No, and I'm not saying that there's going to be any, short-term criticism of him, but I think the United fan base now are at a stage where we need goals more than anything else. And will there be a bit of frustration if he doesn't provide them first season? I don't think so. But.
Look, hopefully he can be the shining light for Ten Hag, because Ten Hag has got it hard enough so far with the likes of Ronaldo. Now he has these two other boys there. He had Greenwood as well. Now he has Sancho. And just to kind of double down there on what the boys are saying, not disciplined enough in the club, no fear factor. It's very tough, like on Ten Hag. Hopefully he comes out here the bright side of it. Like, none of this, I know you're well past the Fergie era, but this kind of things wouldn't have went on in the Fergie era. I know then you had a captain like Roy Keane and things, but even Fergie's latter years, things like this. Imagine if someone ever put something like that up on social media.
Yeah, well, look, the one thing I would say, I think there is discipline within the club now under Eric Ten Hag. It's going to take time to weed out these undisciplined players.
Yeah. But the thing is, from that point of view, is just there's more of them than you probably initially realized.
Well, if you look at it, right, if you look at, say, players, under Ralph Rangnick and Solskjaer and all that, there was reports coming out from within the dressing room, players, going directly to media and stuff like that. And we've seen twice this season already, 2 players have gone to the media behind the club's back. First, obviously, Jadon Sancho is the most recent one, but Harry Maguire released a statement that the captaincy was being taken away from him before it was actually announced by the club. So these are 2 players that Eric Ten Hag hasn't bought, and that are left over from previous managerial eras. So I think he's going to be all right in terms of weeding them out.
Just going again, to Irish lad.
Sorry?
Irish lad 81 there. I think Hoyland is Danish, is he? He just said, is it good that he's in the Norway squad or no? I think he's Danish, is he?
He's Danish, along with Christian Eriksen.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move it on.
Just a quick word there on what do you think the story like with
Anthony.
Look, we're not going to dwell too much on this because it's very political and it's very can be sensitive to a lot of people. But
look, I've been over.
It's another mess, isn't it?
Yeah, I've been reading some articles coming out by obviously the main journalists, and of course I've been having a look on Twitter as well, which is kind of the other end of the spectrum.
Cesspit though, Twitter is.
It is.
You'll find any opinions on whatever you want to, whatever side of the argument you want to go on, you'll find on
exactly,
Twitter.
Exactly. But look, I think a lot of people calling for Anthony to be suspended, just like Mason Greenwood was. Me personally, I think this is slightly different. I think the evidence in terms of what Greenwood did was right in your face the second it was released. These are allegations, and you're
I just
innocent.
think it's innocent and
you're innocent until
I just think
guilty. It's desperately disappointing.
A bit of a predicament.
Yeah, it's desperately disappointing that this is rearing its ugly head again. Look, to be honest with you, Anthony, if he does get suspended by the club, if he, pending investigation, I don't think we're going to be missing much anyway. He hasn't been playing that well for us. I think it would be maybe a blessing in disguise for the likes of young Ahmad if he comes back from injury to get a good go in the team. Maybe Palestri, Garnacho to get another start. Look,
it's just you don't exactly have the squad depth for it, but I think it's after putting you in a big predicament now for the fact that Brazil have dropped him out of their squad.
Yeah, and I think
the media love to hate on United and love.
Of course. Well, there's clicks. There's clicks when United are
involved. If he comes back and he's in the United squad, they're going to be like Manchester United have different morals than the Brazilian team.
Yeah.
Brazil dropped him. Manchester United don't think he deserves to be dropped. I think he will be dropped.
Yeah. Yeah, look, and if that's the case, that's the case. Everybody's going to have their own opinion on it. And it's one of these things that are going to split. It's going to, split fan bases again. But look, let's see what happens. I don't know. Maybe it is the right thing to do pending investigation for him to, to sit out for a few weeks. But I think we need to get to the bottom of it as quickly as possible. Because, obviously, like you said, we're paper thin. You know what I mean? Anyway, look, let's move it on to Liverpool. Obviously, they had a good win against Aston Villa on the weekend, 3-0 win against them. And you would have to say maybe a makeshift defense as well. Now, look, I do think Liverpool were good on the day. I do also think Villa were quite poor. Can you see Liverpool kind of maybe getting back to their best at the moment, or are they on the maybe way to get back to their best?
Yeah, well, again, with similarities to United, Liverpool squad, although they have a lot more squad depth going forward, like their squad, I won't say it's not paper thin, but a couple of injuries there could say a lot for them. Now they have Van Dijk out for a few games after the red, although they had a good win at that weekend, 3-0. Nice to keep a clean sheet too. A great goal by Szoboszlai and a kind of lovely poacher finish at the back post from Mo Salah with a flick on from Darwin Núñez. Like a big thing for them, I think, well, if Núñez can come into his zone.
He's starting to improve. I've noticed
yeah,
him.
he is. He is. He's a big fella. He's a big fella that he has that bit of skill about him. Like it's hard to say, are they back? Look, it's a great start to the season for them. They're up there with the only teams that has a better. The only team is Man City. That has a better record than them. They're on the same as Tottenham, West Ham, Arsenal. They all have 3 wins and a draw, along with Liverpool. So I think if you gave them that at the start of the season, they would have taken it.
Yeah, talk to me about Anfield then as well, because obviously I was watching the game on the weekend, and Anfield obviously was rocking like it normally is, especially when you go out and get an early goal. It's a very, very important thing for them, though, isn't it? Liverpool, like them home games where you're going up against a potential tricky opponent in the likes of Aston Villa. How important do you see home advantage to them, or is it something that maybe they can, is it held for maybe them European nights, when you're in the league? Does it really matter that much?
Like maybe the European nights. Like I was in 2 seasons now ago, I was in Liverpool, and there was a great atmosphere there. Like it's sold out week in, week out. It's obviously going to be a big advantage playing at home there, but I don't think Liverpool would really fear going anywhere in the Premier League. Like United on their day wouldn't. Maybe not at the minute. United wouldn't, but I don't think it's necessarily only a thing where Liverpool are only going to do well at home.
Yeah.
I wouldn't see that. Like, yeah, Anfield, like it's very similar to Old Trafford ways. Like Old Trafford sold out week in, week out. But no, I can't see that being a major factor in it. Do you think that?
Well, look, I mean, I do think it does play a role. You know what I mean?
Obviously, like home advantage for anybody especially if you have that kind of following behind you.
Yeah, and we seen United last season being really, really good in Old Trafford and really, really bad away from home.
Well, Liverpool just went to James's Park the week before, down a goal, down to 10 men, and came back.
Yeah. They're showing good character, in fairness to them.
Yeah, it's just, I think Klopp just has that kind of, he has, everybody on his team is nearly an Energizer bunny. They just run themselves into the ground, and then they'll come off and he'll bring someone on that'll do that job that he done before. He's one manager that I think, probably along with Pep, but I think Klopp more so, he's a manager that is kind of, players are willing to die for him and they do anything for him.
Yeah.
Very rarely you see anybody coming out and going against him in any way. I know Salah can have his drop when he comes off, but he's their kind of star man and doesn't want to be getting taken off when he wants to score another goal. But they always kind of come out and
talk to me about Salah then. Do you think Liverpool should have cashed in on the 150 million bid?
No, there's a rumour now that they're shaping up for a 220 million bid.
It's when I think the transfer window is closed tomorrow night.
Yeah,
for Saudi.
I don't think Salah be going anywhere. I like. There's pros and cons to this. Like, you'd be saying you're foolish to reject 220 million. It depends what you're going to do with that 220 million. Like, I see just going on a club that I know fairly well, Celtic up in Scotland. Like, they're like, oh, we're getting 20 million for this player. We'll sell him. They sell him, but like that money just goes to the board, to like the owners. They don't go out and buy another player. That's why they're saying we sold Jota for 20 million to El Etihad, or wherever he went, and they're like, I'd rather not have that 20 million and just have Jota, because that 20 million hasn't benefited us in any way.
Yeah, I get you.
It's not as if like, if it's too late for Liverpool to sell a player now anyway. Like if they sold Salah now, I think they'd be giving up on this season, really. Would you?
Yeah, probably. I think I
Like,
do.
and then everybody knows, Liverpool are only after getting 220 million there.
Yeah,
So
but
like,
I can't see Saudi going away from Salah though, in
no,
fairness.
no, no, no. And
And
I
I
do
think
think
maybe
he'll
this
probably
could
go
be
at the
his
end of this
last
season.
season.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And I do agree, but I don't think that Salah would leave him high and dry now on the
Yeah.
last day when they can't even sign a player. Even if they wanted to, they can't put a 24-hour deal over the line.
Oh, I would love to see it. So I would love to see it. Anyway, look, talk to me about Villa. Obviously, a lot of people tipping them to do well in the Premier League this year. Top 6 maybe. I think they've qualified for the Europa Conference League. I think
Yeah,
they
they
beat
battered Hibs
High
8-0
Burnley. Yeah,
anyway.
but
5-0, 3-0.
yeah, they've won 2, lost 2. Obviously, they've won the games that probably they should be winning against Burnley and Everton, but they got a good hammering against Newcastle and then, of course, Liverpool on the weekend.
Yeah,
Do you think
yeah,
maybe, like,
they got
obviously,
5-1 and 3-1, or 5-1 and 3-0 to Liverpool and Newcastle, two of last season's top 4, and they played them away. One was on the first day of the season, and Villa had a good few new signings in it. Look, they got a trimming. I actually watched the match that day, and I know it sounds stupid. It wasn't a 5-1 game. They didn't get battered. They conceded 5 goals, so on paper they got battered, but they didn't actually get battered.
yeah,
I played a semi-final of an Oscar trainer, a quarter-final of an Oscar trainer, just to put it into context, maybe 5-6 years ago when we played Donegal, and we got absolutely battered, and we won the game 3-0. And we got battered.
yeah.
Like, it's
That's the
just,
way it
I'm not
goes.
saying that Villa did batter Newcastle or anything. I'm just saying they took a hammering on the scoreline that day, but they didn't take a battering on the pitch.
Yeah.
Then look, going down 3-0 to Pool, I won't say there's no shame in that because every team in the Premier League is pumping millions into them. It's just, they went out then, they bet Burnley 3-1 and Everton 4-0. So the teams they should be beating, they're beating convincingly. I think it will come right. What Emery done last year, he was up for manager of the year. They're in Europe now. Your next question will be, will they prioritize Europe? No, I don't think so. I think
Let me ask you, if you were let's say it was Sunderland, right?
Yeah.
Would you prefer getting into the top 6, and prioritize the Premier League, or would you prefer to win the Europa Conference League?
Oh, 100% to win the Conference League.
Yeah.
Because it's a European Cup.
But do you not think then that Unai Emery should prioritize that?
No, because I don't think anything. I don't even know what's the word? Prioritization. Is that the word?
I don't think. Yeah,
No,
all right. I don't know what your context is.
Yeah, I'm saying, like I said with United last year when you were saying, should we just throw the Europa League? I'd say play your group stage games as if you're just playing any games and see how you're fixed at the end of it. Like Aston Villa will get through their group.
Yeah.
And then you take it one game, one leg at a time from there.
Yeah.
Like Aston Villa could get through their group and then they could play whoever in the next round. You could get, I don't know.
Yeah, you don't even know the name of another team.
Well, you can get someone dropping down from the Europa League. You could get Inter Milan or someone there. But they could go very well. Put it this way, if West Ham won it last year and West Ham finished 15th or 16th in the league, like they have all the cavalry and tools there to try and go on and win it. But I wouldn't be prioritizing that from this point of the season. I think you're way off the ball if you're looking that far ahead.
Yeah.
Like what are they going to do? Rest players in the Premier League? No, I don't think so.
Take the weekend off there, boys. We'll see. We'll see
Thursday night
out in fucking Uzbekistan. Right, let's move it on. Chelsea next. I mean, look,
Chelsea, the only team that's in as much of a shit show as Manchester United.
But for different reasons, you would say. They're struggling at the moment. I mean, look, losing to Nottingham Forest, no disrespect to Nottingham Forest, they shouldn't be losing to them given the amount of money they've invested.
No, see, they're the only home team not to score a goal last weekend. Yeah, geez, they shouldn't be losing that game.
But what's a realistic goal for them this year then? Take everything into consideration. New manager, new players, money spent, on coming off the back of a very poor season last year. Like, what is a realistic goal for them this year?
like realistic as of now, like 4 games, a win, a draw, 2 losses, 5 goals scored, 5 goals. Like I would have been thinking they'd be pushing for Champions League, but like the only thing though is if they did turn it on, they put like 8 wins on the bounce. I'm not saying they will, but you know, if you put or out of 10, if you went 10 games undefeated and you put 7 wins and 3 draws or 8 wins and 2 draws there, like it kind of goes a long way about catapulting you back up there.
Yeah.
We are only 4 games in, but it does look like a mess there. Look, it looks like a mess.
Someone said it the other day, we're 10%. You're cramping up, yeah.
Oh, lads.
We're 10% through the Premier League already.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
10%.
So is Pochettino the man? Or, you know, do you think he should be given time? Because we all know he's a good manager. We all know he likes to work with young players as well. We've seen that with Tottenham.
Oh, 100% he should be given time. Chelsea don't tend to give time, but 100% he should be given time. But personally, I always think that Poch is spoken in more of a high regard, and I would give him praise for. I'm not saying he's a bad manager, but I just don't think.
Well, what has he won?
Yeah, well, he did. Look, he got Spurs to the Champions League final, didn't he? Along with Harry Kane, but like that's still kind of a feat in itself. But like before that, like, what are you kind of looking at him doing? He went to PSG. He went to PSG, and he didn't win the league, did he?
Yeah, he didn't win the league. Yeah, in his first year, I think he won it the second season, didn't
no,
he?
He might have only come in halfway through that season.
Yeah, but before Spurs, he was Southampton. You know what I mean? So
was it Southampton straight to Spurs? Was there someone in between?
No, that was it.
Yeah, like it's hard to kind of band someone around there as like world class manager.
I think the fact that he was so close to winning the Premier League and the Champions League, you know. That
United
probably gets the benefit.
United should have hired Postecoglou. Sorry, Jack, go on.
Don't get me look at the big smug head on you now about Postecoglou. You know what I mean? We'll talk about him. Come on, let's talk about him. Tell me, talk to me. Ange Ball, Sunshine supporter Rice here, getting on the bandwagon.
No, I haven't on any bandwagon. I couldn't care less for Spurs, but now Spurs they're actually playing. Like Son is sitting up there centre forward. Like Madison is playing with an absolute
Madison is
smile
signing the summer so far, surely.
Yeah, he's smile beaming from ear to ear. Like Ange, he's kind of put lads there like big names. Like I won't say like worldwide big names, but in terms of Spurs, like Eric Dyer there, who's been knocking around there for many years, probably hitting 7, 8, 9, 10 years maybe.
Yeah.
Like stripped him of any vice captaincy he had. I don't know if he had it, I think, or maybe he didn't have it and he was kind of expecting it.
Yeah.
He didn't get that. He hasn't played from. He wants kind of fast players, fast moving football. The thing about Ange that you will see during this season is he will score goals, but he will concede goals.
Yeah. I think that's what we said, didn't we, at the start of the season? We said Spurs will probably score goals, but you'd worry for them in the defence. You know what I mean? But,
yeah.
I want to move on to Newcastle and Brighton, and we'll talk about both of them quickly. How good are Brighton, by the way?
Brighton are flying it. Jeez, Brighton are flying it.
Yeah, Newcastle.
I think they're kind of everybody's second team, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so.
Not as in people don't have a second, but like they're just a team.
You want to see them do well.
Yeah. They have an Irish contingent over there, and they're a very likable side.
They are, because they do things the right way, you would say. I think that's a lot of it to do with it as well. Talk to me about Evan Ferguson. Obviously, it's desperately disappointing that he's out injured for the France game for Ireland tomorrow night. I think he's going to miss the Dutch game as well, actually. But
I think he's out of the squad altogether,
Yeah.
I think.
I mean, he has the world at his feet, doesn't he?
He does. And that wasn't a tippy-tappy hat-trick. Like, that was a good hat-trick. That was...
His second goal was brilliant.
Even the first one was from distance, wasn't it?
No, the first one was kind of I think there was 2 shots and he followed in on the rebound.
Oh, yeah. But he just knows where the goal is. Even his slotting in from a rebound, just placing the ball in.
Yeah.
Then he could strike it from pace, from out far. But even you see in the games, he doesn't score. He's hitting headers on target and everything. He's like... He's look.
If a team was to come in for him next summer, let's say he scores 15 goals in the Premier League this season.
Yeah.
How much are you now? I suppose you do have to consider he probably has 4 years left on a contract as well. What would it take to pry him away from Brighton? Cash money.
If you're saying he hits 15, 16 Premier League goals this season, Premier League goals, and he'll be turning 19.
Yeah. Fucking
sure. Jesus, you could, like, the way money's going these days, and I know people will laugh or they might say, you're only saying that because he's Irish. But sure, if Casado only done it over a season and he's going for 110 million,
as a central midfielder,
how would you not be putting Ferguson in that 100 million euro bracket?
Yeah.
Like how would he not be put up there?
Yeah.
Like to say he's worth that much, I'm not saying that. I'm saying like the way now today's market is gone very, very silly. Like Declan Rice, he's proven English international, but he's going as a CDM, as a pivot there, and
Declan Rice is also an Irish international, just to get that in there.
Yeah, and he's 24. Like this lad has 5 years on him that scores goals. Like you can, like, very hard to buy goals.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I do think he has to be very careful when he moves. Where he moves, it'd be like the ideal situation is that he spends at least the next 2 seasons at Brighton.
Yeah, and move.
Like Brighton are going to give him a bumper new contract anyway. They're going to try and give him a 5-year contract, and they'll put him on 70 grand a week.
Yeah,
just so they'll be getting more for him.
Yeah. No. I mean, look,
be a down to earth lad. That
he does. He does. He seems to have his head screwed on, doesn't he?
Yeah. Well, I don't think it's stupid to be talking them figures for him. Yeah. When you see he's only the 4th person in history to score a Premier League hat-trick.
Yeah.
4th
teenager.
18-year-old. 4th, 18 or under. Because Rooney, I think, might have done that 19. He's in there like Michael Owen, Robbie Fowler, and I don't know who the other is. But they're serious names, to be thrown in there. You're making up 4, and they're 2, the other 4.
Good Irish.
And as we said, it's not like it wasn't a little tap-in fluky hat-trick or 2.
No, he's able to score all kinds of goals, in fairness to him, isn't he?
Yeah. And just before we finish up there, look, we have 2 or 3 minutes. We'll move to Newcastle.
Yeah.
I told you that on the first part of the year that I thought if results didn't go his way, that Eddie Howe would be in bother. And I said that I wouldn't be surprised if Eddie Howe was gone before the end of the season.
Okay. I also thought that Newcastle would struggle this year.
I still think it's very early to say they're struggling. Like, look, they bet Villa 5-1. We spoke about that there. I don't think it was a battering. It was on the scoreline. But they lost to City, lost to Liverpool, and lost to Brighton.
Yeah.
Like, if you're looking there at that league table, they lost to 3 teams in the top 6. But they lost to 3 teams in the top 6 that on the back end of last season and the start of this season, they're probably 3 of the more informed teams.
Yeah.
Like Liverpool are flying it at the minute. City are flying it. And they didn't push over for City. They'll be very disappointed with the Liverpool one after going 1-up and then losing. And then Brighton, they just kind of got their asses handed to them. I think they even only scored in the 96th minute to put a consolation. Callum Wilson, I think.
Yeah. I think they'll struggle once the Champions League kicks in. I don't think they have the squad. I really don't.
2 games there now, Dan Burn at left back. And we praised him last season for the job he did. But me and you also questioned towards the end of last season. Not questioned. We said that the likes of Dan Burn can't be a mainstay starter at left back this year. We're saying centre half is his natural position. He's got done in games this season. 2 games so far. He's got burnt in both games and been at fault for goals. I don't see why. I thought personally, I know they bought that Livramento boy there for 40 million off Southampton. He's a young lad. He's a backup. I think he's right full, primarily maybe left full as well as cover. I personally don't know why they didn't go out, and Kieran Tierney went on loan to Real Sociedad. I don't know why they didn't try and take him on loan or try and buy him. Kieran Tierney isn't the best left back in the world by any means, but he has experience. He has passion. He'll give 110%. He's played in the Champions League. I don't know why they didn't go out and
I
sign
agree
him.
with you. Yeah, I agree with you. I want to talk real quick about Man City as well. Obviously, look, they continue just to, chug along. No indications of slowing up. I mean, is there a worry that it's going to be at a canter that they win the league? I mean, there just doesn't seem to be any. Now, look, I know there's 1, 2, 3, there's 4 teams only within 2 pints of them.
I
Big
know,
shout
yeah.
out to David Moyes as well, actually doing brilliant things with West Ham. I think he was the bookie's favourite to be
If
sacked
he's
first.
listening there, yeah, give him a
If he's
shout out. If
listening,
he's
big shout
listening,
out to you there, David. Yeah. Just on the off chance. But yeah, I mean, look, it's hard to see anything else other than City doing 4 in a row.
yeah, it is difficult to look past that at the minute, just because their squad depth. They brought in that new winger. They had Doku, is it, or Doku, or
Yeah.
Duko, Dookie. They brought him in at the weekend. Where's that Gomez fella? They signed him last season. Is he a left full? Came on, got an assist the other day.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
And they have Kovacic just seemed to slot in there nicely for him.
And they're doing all of this without Kevin De Bruyne, like.
I know they have like their defense is just sick.
Haaland with another hat trick. Quick one before we finish it up. Obviously, the Ballon d'Or nominees are out today, so you can go check them out. But there's been talks about should Haaland get it? Obviously, given the fact that he scored 50+ goals throughout the season, Messi has won the World Cup. Should he get it as a kind of a bow out to European football?
I wasn't sure earlier on. When I seen Messi's actually favourite to win it. When I seen Messi was favourite to win it, I was like trying to do the calculations on when he won the World Cup, and I like, what, in your opinion, what does Ballon d'Or go from? Is it like calendar?
Weird. I think it's a calendar year. It's like December to December, something weird like that, I think.
Yeah, but the award is given out in like November.
Yeah, and then it kicks in December then. So you're talking. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what.
Because I looked it up. I just Googled when it's done. It said until 2021, Ballon d'Or was awarded based on the calendar year. Since 2022, jurors have been instructed to take into account the previous season.
Right. Okay. So basically, it had like the first 4 games of this season have nothing got to do with anything. It's last season. It's the 38 game league season plus.
Well, the only thing is, it's probably right up until people put in their votes. Like Haaland scoring a hat trick at the weekend is probably going to be beneficial to him because they're like, geez, he started this season like he finished last season. The only thing is, I'm not saying I'd love to see Haaland get it, just somebody different and that. But it's very hard for people to argue if they want to, like, if they give it to Messi again.
Well, I think the one thing I would say is that if you're basing it over a whole season and you're talking about, goals and assists and all that stuff, it has to be Haaland, but if you're going on sentimentality, because I mean, let's call a spade. Like last season, Messi done absolutely nothing for club.
The only reason Messi would be getting this is because he won the World Cup last year.
Yeah, but there was also a lot of other. I mean, Julian Alvarez.
Who got
the Champions League and a World Cup, and probably scored more goals than Messi's. Who got it last year? That's a good question, actually. I'm not sure. I'll tell you now.
Like, why wouldn't have Messi have got it last year if they were trying to say, like, he won the World Cup last year?
No, it was already given out last year before.
The World Cup was in December, wasn't it? Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, no, that's where it's knocking around then. Because I was like, why are they on about giving it to Messi this year if he won the World Cup last year? Yeah, the World Cup was in December.
Oh, sure. Benzema won it last year, sure, didn't he? After winning the Champions League for Real Madrid and all that. Yeah, look, as much as it kills me to say it, I think Haaland should win it. But it'll probably be a kind of a bow out for Messi. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets it.
Yeah, you couldn't be surprised. He's got it so many times so far.
Yeah. Anyway, look, we'll leave it there, Ricey. Thanks for joining us again, as usual. Thanks to everybody for watching, guys. If you haven't already, please do smash a like on the video. Hit subscribe if you're new to the channel. If you're listening back to us on Spotify or wherever you listen to our podcast, please do give us a 5-star review. You can also subscribe on Spotify as well and get extra content. It's behind a paywall of $2.99 per month, but you get all of our Manchester United news shows on a daily basis as well. So if you want to check that out, please do. Link is on the homepage on Spotify as well. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll be back again tomorrow with a Manchester United news show at 7:30. Appreciate everybody watching, and I'll chat to you soon. Take care.